So wait omnes, welcome to this video lesson on passive verbs, and we're going to specifically look at some deponent verbs. So passive verbs. Passive verbs are verbs where the subject is acted upon. So the action happens to the subject rather than the subject doing something. This is in contrast to active verbs, which are more common, we might say are normal. Since in active verbs, the active verb subject does or acts, they're the one doing the action. So to show some equivalence here, in an active verb sentence, she loves him, that is very similar to the passive verb sentence, he is loved by her. Okay, now notice the difference here. She loves him. She, in bold, is the subject. She's the one doing the action. And where is the action directed? To whom is it happening? It's happening to him. He's the direct object. So that's where the direction of the verb is headed, you might say. Now, in a passive verb sentence, he is loved by her. The subject now is not doing anything. Right? He is not actually doing anything. He's not the doer. He's not the actor. He is being acted upon. He is loved by somebody else. And notice we say by her. So we use the preposition by in English to do that. In Latin, you would use the preposition a or ob. A is a long A, and then ob is ab. And that preposition takes an ablative case in Latin. So again here, she loves him, active sentence. He is loved by her. The passive sentence basically is talking about the same relationship, but instead of having the one doing the action as the subject, now it is the person to whom the action is done. The he is now the subject there. All right, let us see. So I saw you. I saw is active verb. I am the subject. I am the one doing the action, or who was doing the action. Now notice how it goes in the passive. You were seen by me. Okay? So you in the first active sentence was the direct object. That's where the direction of the verb was headed, right? And so now in the passive, that becomes the subject, because in a passive verb sentence, again, the subject is acted upon. You were seen happens to the you subject, right? You were seen. It's not saying you were doing anything, it was happening to you. You were seen by me. And so notice that in the active verb sentence, I is the subject, the one doing the action. In the passive verb sentence, again, we have to say by that person, in this case, by me. All right, so again, overall, notice in the examples above, the passive verb sentences describe the same situations as the active verb sentences. That is, the same things are going on. But the subject of the active sentence, notice that's in bold, becomes the object of the preposition by in the passive, and the direct object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the equivalent passive sentence, okay? So active sentence, the doer is the subject, the person to whom it's done is the direct object, but in the passive sentence, the person to whom it's done is the new subject, and the person by whom it's done goes into the prepositional phrase, by that person. All right, now in Latin, how do these passives work in Latin? In Latin, present passive infinitives, which would be translated to be verbed, end in a long I, okay? That usually replaces the short E of the present active infinitive. So a present active infinitive would be something like amare, or videre, docere, mittere, whatever. But do note here it says, however, third and third IO verbs, this would be like mittere, capere, sumere, ponere, any of these type of verbs that end with a short ERE in the infinitive. These verbs will replace the entire ERE ending with the long I. So what that means is you might, for a verb like amare, just change it to amari, changing the short E to an I. But if you're doing mittere, mittere is to send, active. But to make it a passive, you would say miti. So there is no R left, right? The whole ERE drops off before you add the I. So miti, to be sent. Likewise, copere is to take, and then you just take the whole ERE off and replace it with I. Copy would be to be taken. Now let's look at all of the passive endings that we use for present, imperfect, and future tenses. Okay, so in the singular, you get R for I, you get ris for a you subject, tur for he, she, it, mur for we, many for y'all, and enter for they. So R, ris, tur, mur, many, enter are the passive endings. Little song that we sing sometime. And R, ris, tur, those are the singular. Mur, many, enter, those are the plural endings. Now these would be the equivalents of the active endings that you're used to. In active endings, you would get O or M for I, you would get S for you singular, T for he, she, it, mus or mus for we, tis or tis for y'all or you plural, and nt for they. So if you look at these, you might see some similarities here. Like the ris does have the S, the tur does have a T, the mur is a little bit like the mus, and so on. So if I were to conjugate, I've got some example deponent verbs down below, conor, werior, sequor, agredior, and orior. These deponent verbs, I have given you the first two principal parts. Conor would be the I form, and conari would be the infinitive, the passive infinitive. When you see a verb that looks like this, where the first part ends in R, and then the infinitive, the second principal part, ends in a long I, you know you have a deponent verb. So deponent, let me just write this for you, deponent. Okay, this means that they look passive, but they translate active. Okay? So if I were doing a normal verb, let's say amo. Amo means I love. Let's turn it into the passive. I would say amor, I am loved. Amaris, you are loved. Amatur, he, she, it is loved. Amamer, we are loved. Amamini, y'all or you plural are loved. Amontur, they are loved. Notice in all those cases, as usual with passive, it happens to the subject, right? Amamer, we're not doing the loving. Amamer means we are loved. Now, that is for a normal passive verb in Latin. But the deponent verbs, these look passive but translate active. Now, conor, this verb means, let me just note it in here, means to try. So I could say conor, I try. Conaris, you singular try. Conatur, he, she, it tries. Conamer, we try. Conamini, y'all try. Conantur, they try. Likewise, werior means to fear. So wereri is to fear, and if I conjugated all the forms, I would say werior, I fear. Wereris, you fear. Werator, he, she, it fears. Weramer, we fear. Weramini, y'all fear. Werenter, they fear. So they look passive, sound passive, but they actually translate active. Now, sequor means to follow. So where we get sequence from. So sequi is the infinitive form that's literally to follow. Sequor itself is the I form. So sequor, I follow. Sequeris, you follow. Sequitur, he, she, it follows. Sequimer, we follow. Sequimini, y'all follow. Sequuntur, with a U, N-T-U-R, they follow. Okay, agredior as another example. This one means to go out or to set out. It can mean to get off of a ship, to disembark too. So agredi is the infinitive form. That's literally to go out. Agredior is the I form. I go out. Agrederis, You go out. Egreditur, he, she, it goes out. Egredimer, we go out. Egredimini, y'all go out. Egrediuntur, they go out. And one more deponent verb example. Orior or riri means to rise, to get up. So oriri is the infinitive, that's literally to rise. Orior is the I form, I rise. Oriris, you rise. Oritur, he, she, it rises. Orimer, we rise. Orimini, y'all rise. And oriuntur, they rise. All right, well, hopefully this lesson has showed you a few things about passive verbs, how they work, and also how deponent verbs work, so that you can see the endings and also understand how usually normal passive verbs, it happens to the subject, like amamer, we are loved, happens to us. But if you say that kind of ending for one of these deponent verbs, like say warior, it's not I am feared, but it's just I fear. I'm the one doing it. All right. Valete till next time.